So this is just a short video finishing the problems that we were talking about in class, and that's adding and subtracting radicals. And so in order for you to be able to combine like terms, the radicand has to be exactly the same. And so in this problem here, we have to look at the radicand, and we see that we have a radicand of 5, a radicand of 5, and a radicand of 5. So these three are like terms. And so you look at 9 minus 20. 9 square root of 5 minus 20 square root of 5, and that's actually negative 11 square root of 5 plus 8 square root of 5. And notice how I'm not changing what's underneath the radical at all. That's always going to stay exactly the same. And then we have negative 11 square root of 5 plus 8 square root of 5, so we're going to get negative 3 square root of 5. And this is going to be a little bit messy because I have to write with my finger when I do these videos. So going down to the next one. So going down to the next problem, we have 3 times the square root of 75 minus 2 times the square root of 48 plus 3, the square root of 3. And we're always trying to figure out, are there perfect squares, in this case, that we can find underneath that radical? So I'm going to break down the square root of 75 into 25 times 3 minus 2. And I know 16 will go into 48, so I'm going to say that that's 16 times 3 plus square root of 3. Now, just to use the property that we were talking about in class, we can say that this is 3 square root of 25 times the square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 16 square root of 3 plus the square root of 3. Well, the square root of 25 is 5, so we get 3 times 5 times the square root of 3. Square root of 16 is 4, so we get 2 times 4 times the square root of 3 plus the square root of 3. So this gives us 15 square root of 3 minus 8 square root of 3 plus square root of 3. And at this point, it's probably going to be helpful to you to put 1 in front of that. So do we have like terms? Yes, we do, because the radicand is 3, the radicand is 3, the radicand is 3. So we have 15 square root of 3 minus 8 square root of 3 is 7 square root of 3 plus 1 square root of 3, which is going to give us 8 square root 3. The last thing on this is multiplying radicals, and it's actually easier than what we just did. And so we need to distribute here, and my favorite way to distribute is to say, okay, I need to multiply this times everything over here. So we have 2 square root of 3 times 3 minus square root of 3. And then I also need to multiply this times everything over there. So we're going to get plus 3 square root of 5 times 3 minus square root of 3. Now when I distribute for this first part, we get 2 square root of 3 times 3. Well, that's just 6 square root of 3. And then we have 2 square root of 3 times negative square root of 3. So minus 2 square root of 3 times the square root of 3. And we're going to look at what that does in just a second. Now for the green part, we have plus 3 square root of 5 times 3. That's going to be 9 square root of 5. Minus, now we have 3 square root of 5 times negative square root of 3. So that's going to be 3 square root of 5 times the square root of 3. Now let's look at this in the red part over here. We have square root of 3 times square root of 3. We can multiply those radicands together and say that's a square root of 9, which is just 3. Anytime you're multiplying square root of a times square root of a, the answer is just a. So square root of 3 times square root of 3, the answer is just going to be 3. So this ends up becoming 6 square root of 3 minus 2 times 3 is 6 plus 9 square root of 5 minus 3. 5 times 3 is 15, and so we're going to get square root of 15, and there's nothing that can be done to simplify that. So going down here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do 2 square root of 5 times everything there. And then we're going to do 4 square root of 6 times everything there. So plus 4 square root of 6 times 5 minus square root of 7. So when we distribute in the green part, 2 square root of 5 times 5, that's going to be 10 square root of 5. 2 square root of 5 times negative square root of 7 is going to be minus 2, and multiply your radicands together. So 2 square root of 35. Now to the blue part, 4 square root of 6 times 5 is just plus 20 times the square root of 6. And 4 square root of 6 times this negative square root of 7 is going to be minus 4 square root of 42. And that's it.